back your homes, or restore your dead to life.
But perhaps I can give you justice in the name of our king.
One of the most distinguishing battles of Robert's rebellion really wasn't a battle at all. Its name describes the event pretty well, the sack of King's Landing. The sack was the last thing that took place in the rebellion. It was after the Battle of the Trident, where Robert Baratheon marched his forces against Rhaegar Targaryen's forces, only to end with Robert killing Rhaegar with a devastating blow from his warhammer. One thing that isn't talked about too often is what happened directly after Rhaegar's body fell into the river. Soldiers from both sides of the battle stopped fighting and ran over to the fallen prince and collected the many rubies that flew off of his breastplate and took them for themselves. When you think about it, many of these fighting men were quick to drop their loyalties the second they saw an opportunity to fill their pockets. This just reiterates the idea that the people of Westeros will not necessarily fall on their sword for just any king or royal family. Anyway, after the Battle of the Trident, the war had pretty much been won. It was very similar to the American Civil War in that after the Battle of Gettysburg took place, the North had basically assured their victory over the South. At this point, Robert Baratheon, who was wounded at the Trident, sent Eddard Stark to march on King's Landing. What the rebel forces came to find was a pillaged capital, because Tywin Lannister had already pummeled his army through the city. Tywin, the head of House Lannister, had stood back and not supported either side of the war in spite of the actions done previous to him from the Mad King. While everyone was fighting for either the crown or the rebellion, Lord Tywin stayed neutral, only until Robert had killed Rhaegar and learned that Eddard was marching on the city. He wanted to ensure that he would be seen fighting for the rebellion, and thus securing an alliance with the up-and-coming king. He showed up at the gates declaring that his house's army would defend King's Landing, but in truth, he was granted access and then swept through, killing everyone in sight. Sir Gregor Clegane, the Mountain, was part of the sack, and it was him that found Elia Martell's location, where she was hiding with her 2 children. The Mountain grabbed baby Aegon and smashed his head against the wall, leaving his body unrecognizable. This event has actually spawned a major theory which involves the baby prince being swapped by Varys before the Lannisters found Rhaegar's family. While this happened, Sir Amory Lorch, a loyal bannerman of House Lannister, dragged Rhaegar's 3-year-old daughter out from under a bed and murdered her by stabbing her over 50 times. Elia Martell was apparently raped and murdered by the Mountain afterward. There has been much speculation on the event for many years afterward, on if it was enacted from Clegane's own will or from being commanded, and the overall truth seems to be that Tywin ordered the children's death, but not Elia's death, since he didn't really believe she could stand in the way of anything significant, unlike her royal children. Tywin ordered this done because he wanted undeniable proof that he was loyal to Robert Baratheon. Back to the sack of King's Landing as a whole. When the Mad King learned of the Lannisters taking the city behind his back, he ordered for the stashes of wildfire spread underneath the capital to be ignited. It was King Aerys' intent to ensure nobody made it out alive. In commanding this, the Mad King believed he would transform into a dragon. He also ordered Jaime Lannister to kill Tywin and bring him his head. Jaime, knowing full well what the consequences would be if the Mad King's intentions were carried out, killed Lord Rossart, the pyromancer given the order for igniting the wildfire. Rossart was also the hand of the king, but only for a fortnight. Jaime then slayed King Aerys by slicing his throat. Eddard Stark found Jaime Lannister after the killings, sitting on the Iron Throne, where he ordered Jaime to get off of it. After Robert had taken the throne and all was said and done, the new king argued with Honorable Lord Stark on the punishment of the Lannisters. He told Robert that there was no reason to kill Rhaegar's children, and that the sack was brutal and bloody, and since Robert wasn't there, he wouldn't know firsthand how dishonorable the whole thing was. King Robert decided not to punish Tywin or Jaime because he believed the children's deaths were necessary to end the war, and the Lannisters were true loyalists to the rebellion. Opposite to what Eddard Stark believed to be a just response to the brutal murders, Robert thanked Tywin by agreeing to marry his daughter Cersei, which turned out to be a big mistake. One thing that is good to mention is that Grand Maester Pycelle was the person who convinced King Aerys to open the gates of King's Landing to Tywin Lannister. And if you were wondering what happened to the king's pregnant wife and only living son at the time, Viserys, well, they were sent to Dragonstone before the sack took place. Rhaella and Viserys stayed on the island just across the Blackwater Bay, where she gave birth to Daenerys and then died giving birth. When King Robert made plans to take the last Targaryen stronghold after the war, he ordered for his eldest younger brother to sail a fleet and conquer Dragonstone. Stannis Baratheon did just that, but by the time his royal forces arrived, Viserys and Daenerys had already been smuggled to Essos to live in exile. Stannis took the fortress, and Robert, being upset that the remaining Targaryens were out of his grasp, gave the castle to Stannis instead of the proper lordship over the Baratheon family home of Storm's End. 17 years go by, and we end up in the most current year to date in the book series. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown I did of the Sack of King's Landing. Looking back on this event, this is very similar to the craziness of the Red Wedding. I mean, one second you believe you're toasting with friends, and then the next you're being slaughtered. Not to say the Mad King did not have it coming, but this just shows once again what kind of family the Lannisters are. If you like lore and history breakdowns like this, let me know in the comments and I will definitely do more of them. As always, have a great day, take care, and I will see you tomorrow.